Hello, my name's Narendran, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast. Learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 78, and I'll be talking to Cindy Van Arman, a simplicity magician who is devoted to creating pathways for Jonah's work in the world. Through his teachings of universal law and the numbers, she has transformed her life from barely surviving to absolute thriving. Cindy first began with abilities to trust her own intuitive guidance with numbers. Having devoted and invested years of study to this wisdom, she now certifies healers, coaches, and spiritual teachers in the same wisdom to support the creation of a thriving community devoted to unity consciousness. Hello and welcome to Cindy. How are you, Cindy?
I am well. How are you today? I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you and really delve into this delicious conversation about numerology, quantum healing, and all of that energy kind of stuff that I delve into, but I know a lot of my other previous guests have also delved into. So it's a big curious space for me, and especially perhaps more so with the background that you come from. So it's tumultuous. We've all had a story and we all will continue to have one, but nevertheless, yours has been channeled in a specific way to lead you to do what you do today. So what is it you believe about yourself, having gone through all what you've gone through, and do you feel it defines who you are today?
Yeah, I'm very grateful for my journey. I think that all of us, as we go through our pathway and learn our lessons and have our traumas as we are growing up, that it develops our personality and it helps us to unlock our purpose. And for me, that's exactly what it's done. I look back at the things that I've done and the mistakes I've made and the choices that I've made, and I look at it with absolute gratitude. Now, that wasn't always the case. There used to be a lot of shame there, but now I just look at it and think, wow, I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for that.
Beautiful. It takes quite a journey to get to be in a space of gratitude, because there's, like you said, there's a lot of shame, guilt, and abandonment, and all those very heavy, deep emotions that can present themselves, and they need to be worked through to get to the other side.
Yeah, forgiveness is key. Forgiveness was everything for me. And really just sitting and writing letters to myself and sitting in the feeling state of acceptance for who I am and the choices I made. And it took a few years. Absolutely.
What do you believe is your calling for what you're here to do now?
There are so many different aspects to what I'm pulled to do. But the biggest piece is to create impact and to help people simplify what they want to do in the world, to simplify their purpose and to come into a life fully lived. I don't know about you, but I didn't come here to live life halfway. I came here to live life at full blast. And that's been a pattern of mine my whole life. But now I come from a place of love and peace and wealth and passion and all of those versus my old life story. And I really just feel like if I can inspire people to do that same thing with their own life, whatever that looks like for them, to live life on their own terms.
Yeah. It's so interesting when we go through that shift of figuring out, is it a calling? And it sounds like a really fancy word and very grandiose. So it's a calling that I've got here to do. But sometimes those are just small whispers of even cooking yourself a delicious meal or going out with friends or doing something that isn't that big grand of I'm going to change the world, but something a little bit more milder.
Yeah, I love that. I have a lot of clients who come to me they say, just tell me what my purpose is. Because with numerology, we can dig into some of those pieces.
Right.
And, to me, purpose isn't a thing. It's not this grand destination where all of a sudden you're like, ta-da, there's my purpose. Your purpose is what you're pulled to in the moment. And so for me in my 20s, my purpose was being pulled into partying and debauchery. And now my purpose is impact and coming into our own essence and understanding who we really are. And so our purpose changes as we grow, as our consciousness shifts, and as we change. It's not a magic pill that all of a sudden you're like, hey, there's my purpose. I know what I do.
That's right. How have you seen that change over the course of your own growth and really stepping into different modalities, if you will? Has that evolved and changed for you?
Yeah, very much so. I would say since 2018, everything changed. That was really my biggest awakening moment. Before that, I studied all the personal development greats. I tried to do all the productivity and all the things. You name a personal development course, I took it. But I was just absorbing knowledge and information, and I wasn't taking action on it. And I didn't understand it. I wasn't embodying it. My head was full of this information that I was doing nothing with because I didn't know the key piece of who I am at the core of my being. And in 2018, I met my now business partner, Joy Kingsborough, who was teaching a course at the time called Mastering the Brain Game. And it taught me, number one, what my emotions actually are and the science between how my brain and my heart are operating together. And then how to work with divine timing, the law of divine timing, to make things easy. Because at the time I was working, burning the candle at both ends, working 15-hour days, 7 days a week, thinking that if I just worked a little harder, somehow I'd make more money. And she said to me, if you meditated, you'd make more money. And I thought, wait, what now? I don't know about that woo-woo stuff. But I thought, what do I have to lose? Because I wasn't succeeding with what I was doing. And ever since that moment, I have gone through every course she's ever taught and really deep dove into quantum numerology, the understanding of universal law, understanding how we operate. All humans are conscious channels. We have the ability to channel through the quantum field. And, it's just gone from there. It's just snowballed.
What a beautiful gift.
Yeah.
And an experience to witness it in your life.
Yeah. I became so obsessed with it that I now certify teachers in Mastering the Brain Game. And we've got about 35 to 40 brain game coaches now, and we want more. Because brain game, I think the number one thing that most people say about that course is it saved my life. Because it helps you to really understand universal law and how to think like the universe instead of trying to manipulate in this material world experience that we all know is a disaster right now.
Right. So it's a lot of unlearning to relearn, which is a classic adage that we've all heard and seen, especially on the self-development route, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, between the ages of 0 and 7, our brains literally don't have a filter. And so everything we hear, we absorb like a sponge. And even if you had a great upbringing and a happy childhood, your parents or caregivers still said something to you that stuck in there, that you still to this day probably believe, unless you've worked through that belief. For me, I grew up on a farm, happy childhood, but you got to work hard for your money. And the universe is a conspiracy to separate you from it. Those were the things that I heard as I was growing up. And so what did I do? Work ethic, hustle, grind, get it done. That was what I was learned to do. And now I work 3 days a week and make more money than I've ever made.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so much. Right. But there's also so much grace and understanding of how to work with the laws of the universe, because they're pretty powerful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is the whole universe. And we're part
Right.
of that universe. And so I think the first step is understanding and embodying and knowing that we are part of that universe. We are not separate from it. And so, whatever label you want to give that, for me, I use source, universe, God, higher self. I use all sorts of different labels for it, but to me, it's all the same. And that connection and understanding that we belong with that connection is step number one.
And that is so important, because the world and society around us, the systems that are built around us, are built for the opposite, to create that separation. I mean, separation seems to be such a hot topic word right now, especially from the last 2 years. And who knows how long it's going to continue. Actually, you might. How long this separation might continue, because if it's not one thing, it's another. It's a constant divide.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I do have an idea, because numerology tells us the answers. There is an old Hopi tradition, the Hopi live in the United States. There is a rock, it's called Prophecy Rock, and it's in Arizona. And on that rock is a drawing done by the Hopi. And the drawing has this line that goes straight and it drops down a little bit. And there are people on that line, and the line falls off after a while. And then there's another line that's following perpendicular along that first line, and then it breaks off and goes up. And it goes forever. It doesn't stop. So there is a separation occurring, because we have different waves of consciousness that are coming through the universe right now. And the 8th wave of consciousness was all about technology. So the internet boom, all of this technology that we're breaking through, where people have decided that the technology is more powerful than what we carry in our own bodies.
Right.
The 9th wave is unity consciousness, where we understand that we are connected to all that is, that we are a part of all that is, that we are creators, and that we are more powerful than any piece of technology that man can make. And that's where the separation is occurring, because we're seeing that divide. And it doesn't mean anything's wrong. Polarity is a law of the universe, where there is always one side and the other. But when you get into the unity consciousness and some of those 4th and 5th dimensions, you start to realize there's no such thing as separation. There's no such thing as polarity. And all of the technology and the people that are controlling and all of those pieces that we look at and don't like in the 3D world, they belong to. Yeah. So we're going to feel it for another couple of years. Absolutely. But it's going to shift very, very quickly.
Yeah. And I've also recognized certain cycles and certain times, be it of the year or what's going on astrologically up in the sky, that separation gets boosted. It gets faster, and you feel like I'm just in a different zone to everybody else. And then you settle into that and you feel the energies, and you're like, okay, this is good. I think I can do this. And then poof, you pull back into the density of the 3rd dimension. Yeah. So maybe it's a little teaser for us to get our surfing legs on, if you will, so we can kind of feel into this a little bit better. Maybe that's what it is. But I'm seeing that difference. And I know a bunch of people in my sphere are also recognizing that too.
Yeah, from a numerological perspective, 2020 was the year of the 4. So as we were coming through the 1, 2, 3 energy, we landed into 2020 with the 4, and it was all about the body. It was all about coming home. The 4 is about stability and structure. Now, there's a higher consciousness and a lower consciousness to all the numbers. And so the higher consciousness, we saw people coming back home, staying home, coming home to themselves, more people leaving the hustle and grind behind and coming into themselves, meditating, doing yoga, learning new skills. We saw that happening a lot. People taking responsibility for their own well-being. And then we also saw structures falling apart, systems that we thought were stable. All of a sudden, like, whoa, that's not stable at all. And we saw the crumbling of old foundations. So then we came into 2021, which was the year of the 5, which is all about change, all about the shift, all about we're either staying over here or we're going over there, which created more separation. We saw people fighting against mandates and all of these things because they wanted freedom, and the 5 is about freedom. 2022, we're in the 6. The 6 is a harmonization year. It's about seeing some of the results of the shift that we've gone through, seeing what's possible, but also seeing like, I love that, more of that, please. And I don't love that, no more of that, which creates more separation. 2023, 7. Massive change very, very quickly. The 7 is about movement, about freedom, about shifting very quickly, about innovation, of doing things differently. 2023 is going to feel very, very different. Then 2024, we hit momentum and things are going to shift very quickly in the next couple of years.
Wow. It's exciting times, but also possibly a little scary for some who were very used to this environment and circle of this is comfortable, this is what I built, I've spent 20, 30, 40, 50 years living my life like this. It's good.
It is, yeah. And it can be very scary. And you know, if you're listening and you are afraid, know that there is nothing to be afraid of. Humanity is awakening at a very rapid pace. And in the awakening, what happens with awakening, the only thing that awakening is our mind is capable of seeing more. So it's like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden your peripheral vision opens up a little bit more and you see, oh, look at that over there. I didn't know that that was there before. That's what awakening is. And so when your mind is opening to new possibility, your mind's job is to run pattern. That's all it's supposed to do, is to find patterns. And so from the ages of 0 to 7, you were programmed with certain patterns. And then as you go through traumas and age, you create certain beliefs and these patterns in your life. But as you awaken, you open up to more possibility and the brain goes, but that's not safe over there. That's different. I've never seen that before. I don't know what to do. Saber-toothed tiger, run. Right? So all you need to do is just breathe. Awareness is everything. And if you have the awareness that this is something I haven't seen before, I am open, I'm curious, and I'm willing to explore it. That's all you need to do. There's a fine line between fear and love. The fear holds you in that box. It holds you safe. It actually shuts down your immune system. It shuts down pieces of your brain, pieces of your body. All you can do is fight, flight, or freeze. That's all you can do. I call that T-Rex brain. Imagine tiny little arms and a tiny little brain. You can't do anything. I always like to imagine a Tyrannosaurus Rex trying to put a fitted sheet on a bed. It won't work. But the opposite side of that is love, otherwise known as rest repose, where we've got dolphin brain. And dolphins are with their community and they're connected and they're tapped into their intuition and they are willing to dive into something new. They're willing to explore. They're really tapped into the quantum field and loving the experience of life.
Such a challenge, huh?
It can be, yeah. Yeah, you do get to a point with practice where it becomes easier and easier, and it does become your state of being after a while. But I started in 2018. It's been some time.
Yeah. We'll build a couple more muscles for that, I think, for a lot of people listening, because there's hills and valleys in this journey. Sometimes we're on the top of the hill, sometimes we're at the bottom of it. But nevertheless, neither of them are good or bad.
Exactly.
They're just there.
It just is. And I think that's where the acceptance piece comes in, you know, of accepting what is and accepting that I'm growing and awakening and accepting that there are scary things and accepting that I love myself anyway and I am willing to go explore.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also being in that place of curiosity of, I am witnessing this right now. Like me, it's you and me on this call. We are physically here witnessing, being present of
Mhm.
everything that's happening, the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the bits in between. We get to see it. Front row
Mhm.
seats.
Mhm.
It's quite a ride.
Yeah, and if you really get into the science of it, here's where it gets really fun. What we can see with the naked eye is 0.001% of what's actually occurring.
Absolutely.
99.99999% of what's occurring, we can't perceive. We can sense it, we can feel it. You get those goosebumps, or you get that chill down your back, or you just feel like you need to reach out to somebody. You get that intuitive nudge. That's the 99.999%, which is pure possibility. And your thoughts and your emotions direct that possibility. If you're thinking that the world is against you and you're in fear and you're constantly in that worried state, you're going to see more of that, because that's what's directing what's called the plonks in your body, that possibility playground that's in your body. So if you're thinking and feeling thoughts of love, peace, ease, simplicity, joy, bliss, then you're going to see more of that in the world. And your superpower as a human being is the ability to choose your thoughts and your feelings.
Yeah. And it really is a superpower. And sometimes we just get drenched in it and, feel like it's sinking mud.
Yeah. Yeah. And we tend to play the victim of, oh man, I feel sad, or I feel afraid, or I'm angry. And society has trained us to numb it, dumb it, drug it, Netflix it, alcohol it, feed it, whatever, to get rid of it and shove it under the carpet. And if we just took a minute and felt it and went, oh, I'm experiencing a sensation of anger right now, and I love and accept myself anyway. Emotion is energy in motion. It's designed to move. It's the judgment of it that makes it so that we hold on to it and creates health problems and all sorts of fun stuff.
All that fun stuff. Exactly, Cindy. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people making a whole slew of money off of that fun stuff. I tell you.
Yeah.
Called the world that we live in and the way it's been designed. But I digress. So I'm curious to know, with all that you've learned and really brought into your beingness of who you are, what do you feel were some of the true attributes that you have connected with your purpose?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes into mind is my top 4 values. The 4 things that guide me in everything I do. And it's really fascinating because the numerology at the time of this recording is all about values. So I love that this question has come up. You can't make this stuff up, I swear.
Yes.
So my top 4 values, number 1 is essence. And by essence, I mean the connection between brain, heart, and source. And source, I mean universe, God, whatever label you want to give that. When we come into our essence, it's a feeling state of who we are. It's not what we think we are. It's not what our parents told us we were. It's not what the boss said we were. It's not the labels. It's that feeling state. So I spend time in my essence every single day, multiple times a day. I just breathe and come back into that state. Another word for it is coherence. The Heart Math Institute does this all the time. They've done a lot of studies on that. Yeah. My second top value is impact. If I'm not creating impact, then I'm not living up to my values. Now, by impact, yes, I want to be all over the world and spread the message and all the things. But to me, impact is going to the grocery store and smiling at the clerk and asking them if they had a good day. Because that ripples back to their children when they go home and their family, and it ripples out. It's like dropping that pebble in the lake, and it just ripples. So everywhere I go, my job is to spread love and joy and laughter. I want to make everybody laugh.
I love that. Yes.
My third value is simplicity. simplicity in all things, because complication is never the way of the universe.
Mm.
One of my biggest challenges through my life has been about control, of trying to control the material world, of trying to manipulate things so that it would go in my favor. And I would build what I call mountains. I would put mountains in my way of all the challenges and trying to figure out the how and trying to control it all. And then my business partner, Joy Kingsborough, said to me one day, you know, complication isn't the way of the universe. And I went, oh. So now if anything's hard, I take a step back. Hold on. How can I find a simpler path here? And I come back to that connection, that essence, and ask God to support me. And I always find an easier way. And then my fourth value is wisdom. And to me, that is about not always trusting my own brain, because it doesn't know anything, and to always go to that higher wisdom and always check in.
Beautiful. What's your version of checking in?
To me, it's essence. Essence is everything, because that means that the full embodiment of me and source is there all together in one. And so my soul, if you want to call it that, my essence is connected to God, source, universe. And we're in that co-creation relationship together where we're just having this conversation. And whatever it is that I'm in the moment of, I can ask source for support in that. And I have this conversation back and forth. I am a conscious channel. I've been practicing channeling for quite some time. And so for me, I just ask a question and I get the answers. It's really fun.
Really quite simple as that, right, Cindy?
It really is. The complication's not the way of the universe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You talked a little bit about creating an impact and some of the intentions that are involved around that. What are some of the bigger intentions that you have with all the skills and tools that you've really garnered along the way?
Yeah, I have two main objectives for everything I do. Actually, it all comes under one umbrella. So my business partner, her name is Joy Kingsborough, and she is a conscious channel for a stream of consciousness known as Jonah. Jonah has brought through everything Joy has ever taught. So mastering the brain game that I talked about, he channels with her with numerology, everything she's ever done, the universal laws, all of it. And so I'm on a mission to get Jonah's work out in the world. So for me, what that looks like is, number one, I want brain gaming to be a household verb. I want 8 billion people on the planet to know what it's like to have emotional mastery and to work with divine timing. And I also want quantum numerology to be mainstream, because numerology's gotten a bad rap over the years as something woo-woo and it doesn't make sense. And it is actually a very solid science that has been passed down to us from our ancestors, but it's been hidden in secret libraries and shunned and put aside that it wasn't real. So those are my two big intentions. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And they are very big. But I have no doubt that you will obtain this bigness.
Yeah. And I can't do it alone, right? I'm not going to be the one that teaches 8 billion people the brain game. But so I'm the exclusive certifier of the program. Joy Kingsborough has passed that work on to me. And so I'm working with developing brain game coaches, those who want to create that kind of impact.
That's beautiful. And what a gift to be able to put something into fruition on a very tangible level for individuals to incorporate into their lives every single day.
Yeah. Well, I'm a ruling number 4. I like tangible. I like to put something in somebody's hands and give them results. That's really important. Yeah.
And it's important with the world that we live in, you know. It's how gratifying is it when we do groceries and we pick these things and voila, all of a sudden we have a beautiful dish that we're going to eat, you know. So there's an element of that as a humanness.
Absolutely. We love to create in this 3D world, and we're meant to create in this 3D world. It's not about, you know, all of us all of a sudden ascending to 5D and leaving this planet. That's not what it's about. We are meant to be here and we are staying here. We're not going anywhere. But it's about utilizing 5D to play in 3D.
That's right. That's right. I think that was a really big, perhaps a misinterpretation of, the evolution of consciousness and going into 4D and 5D and 6D and all these other levels and the new earth and the old earth, all these language that was, okay, am I packing my suitcases? Am I not? I think that was a lot of dialogue for a lot of individuals because the conception or the interpretation around it was a physical move. It's not a physical move. It's this beautiful thing called consciousness is where the shift really happens. And that's where the move happens.
Yeah.
That's where the power really is. And I can't emphasize that enough. And it looks like you're bouncing out of your seat, so can't emphasize it enough either. But it's so crucial. It's so powerful, but it's so simple.
It's so simple. It's so simple that the mind, the brain, the human brain can't figure it out. And our brain wants to, because we live in a 3D world where everything's complicated and nothing seems to really make sense. And so the brain and its patterns and its beliefs goes, but how could it possibly be that simple? And that's where thinking like the universe comes into play, where you start living through universal law versus man-made law, and everything gets easier. It's blissful. And that, yes, I am bouncing out of my seat because I want the whole world to understand this.
Yes, exactly. So then, why do you feel as human beings, we have such complex brains that can see and relate so quickly to the evolution of consciousness? Why is it that we become so myopic in our mind space?
Yeah, that has everything to do with consciousness. And so, there's multiple different theories on this, but for me and my beliefs and how I see it is that we've had different waves of consciousness coming through the universe since the beginning of time. We started with 0 point, which was source, God. And from there, that energy made a decision that it wanted to create. Well, it started with the first through the 6 waves, which wasn't a lot of consciousness there. It was the creation of the material experience. Yeah. But we saw back, between when people were painting cave art to all of a sudden there was lines and boxes and pyramids being built. There was another level of consciousness that downloaded at that time where the humans may not have understood it, but all of a sudden they're like, I got to build a pyramid. I don't know why, but I got to build it. And then other layers of that consciousness started coming in, and all of a sudden we understood technology. We could understand language. All of these pieces started coming in with consciousness. As we're coming into this 9th wave of consciousness, we're starting to see things from a different perspective. Now, not every human is going to go there. Not every human is willing to go there. Absolutely. And so we see the separation again, where some of us are diving way out into the 5D world and playing out there and exploring and coming back and bringing back information that people have never experienced. And then there's the people who aren't willing to go there. And so the belief systems in their brain has caused them to just put their blinders on. I don't want to see it. I'm not willing. I'm not curious. I'm not open. And our brains, our bodies, our human bodies have more technology in them than we are even close to being aware of. Our bodies are magical, what they can do. They are more powerful than any supercomputer out there. I don't know why our brains do that, but I do know that it has everything to do with willingness to be aware and willingness to accept what is and willingness to decide, I'm going to go over there. And if you're not willing to make that decision, that's okay too. You can stay. You're still part of the whole. You're still part of the collective.
That's right. I love that you brought the free will component in, because it is such a pivotal piece for individuals on this journey. So whether you identify as an old soul, a new soul, whatever it is, the choice that you have is the magic and the power that you have.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of the big misconceptions in the spiritual world is I hear this language a lot of, well, if the universe wants me to have it, I will. If it's
Mm,
meant to be, it's meant to be. And
right.
sorry, but that's a load of hoo-ha. You
Mhm.
have to decide that you want it and
Absolutely.
then go into that co-creative relationship with the universe,
Yeah.
constantly redeciding, yes, I still want that. Yes, I still want that. I'm willing to do what it takes to get that thing to occur, whatever it might be.
Right.
It's not, we're not at the whim of the universe. We are in relationship with the universe because we
That's
are a
right.
part of it.
Absolutely. And it's being able to really navigate the vibrational frequencies of the planet,
Yeah.
all within a beautiful coherence of the natural laws, which is what you're talking about. Just a
Yeah.
different language, different terminology, but we
Mhm.
speak in the same language.
Absolutely.
It's the natural laws. So we can decide, do I want to step into that timeline and time zone and frequency, or do I want to step into this frequency? And all of the frequencies have for the lack of better understanding, an emotion connected to it, because that is
Mhm.
something that's more tangible that people can understand.
Yeah.
And if there's an emotion connected to it, there's going to be a whole slew of other things. But let's just go with the emotion. I choose
Mhm.
to be joyful, or I choose to be depressed. Some people may argue those are not choices, but you have a choice whether you're going to
Choice.
continue to listen or not. You have that choice.
Always, always. Yeah. Yeah. And that can be really hard to accept in the beginning. I know for me it was. I was an angry, angry woman when I came to this work. I was constantly pissed off and yelling at people, and the inner voice was brutal.
Mm.
And when somebody said I got to choose my thoughts and my feelings, I remember going, huh? I don't get it, because I felt like I was at such the whim of it that I had no control over it. And when I learned it wasn't about controlling it, that's when everything changed. Because you can't sit there and go, and when you're angry, let's use anger as an example. If I'm angry, the last thing I want to do is forgive or come into acceptance or be grateful. My goodness, I want to sit on my couch and pout like a 5-year-old, right? And so when you're in that state, it's really important that we acknowledge that we're in that state. And it's the acknowledgement of it, of, oh, I am feeling angry. Okay. Okay. I'm feeling angry. Okay. Now, what am I going to do with that anger?
Mhm.
Am I going to sit here and pout like a 5-year-old? And that's okay too. You're allowed to do that because it's your choice.
That's right.
Or what else could I do with this anger? Where could I redirect this anger? It's not about, I'm going to go from anger to joy. It's what can I do with this anger to move this energy? Oh, I could go punch my pillow. Or I could go out into the trees and scream at the trees. They're really good. They can take it. They're strong. They're rooted. Or maybe I need to have a conversation, but I can have a calm conversation with somebody. It's that pause of acknowledgement that allows you to go from react to respond. And it gives you permission to be angry and then take a second look at it and go, okay, well, now what can I do with this energy?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. And I think it's so important to give individuals the choice.
Mhm.
Just because you feel it, it doesn't mean you own it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's another thing too, is reframing language around emotion. We never, ever, ever want to say, I am angry. When you use the words I am, you are invoking who you are. And so you are not angry. You are experiencing a moment of anger.
Right.
You are not depressed. You are experiencing depression. It's a totally different language, and it may seem really simple, and complication's not the way of the universe. Everything really is that simple. And so even just that slight language change allows you to come into, I'm experiencing a moment of sadness. I love and accept myself anyway. What will I choose to do with this emotion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So much there. So much magic in all that you've shared. Thank you. Thank you so much. But I have one additional question.
Absolutely.
What's next for you? I know you want to get this out into the universe and beyond, but what's next for Cindy?
I love that question so much, because this is the question I ask myself every day. And I don't ask my brain, I ask my higher connection, because I come from a project management background. And we think that we need to map it out step by step by step by step by step, and we leave no room for possibility. Right. So what's next for me is where I'm pulled next. Right. What I do know for sure, I have a live event occurring in Phoenix, Arizona in September. And out of that, I will be launching my next round of brain game certification, where I'll be certifying brain game coaches.
Beautiful. This is exciting stuff. I'm so excited for what you're doing, Cindy, and all that you bring to support individuals on their journey of growth, and for them to really tap into who they are, their essence, their being, their soul, and leading into that trust.
Yeah, so important. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.